All right, hey guys, happy Monday, September 10th. Welcome to the TED Show. It's episode 239, I believe. I know, right? I'm not happy at all with the lighting in here. Kyle looks awesome because Kyle just is awesome. Let us know you can hear us and see us. Sean Frank is on. I'll see you in a few minutes, Sean. Give us a thumbs up and a heart. Hey, Nirmala, what's happening? I did an entire show once where people watched and you couldn't hear anything.
Oh, wow.
So I always ask that. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Thank you. Oh, Sharon, where have you been? Gert Garman, how are you? All right, so we've got some love and some hearts and some thumbs up here. Kyle, welcome.
Thank you.
And Kyle is, we were introduced, we're pretty sure, by our friend Boris. Boris is responsible for a lot of the cool people I get to meet in town. And if you have cool people you want me to meet, I had somebody ask me today, all you have to do is message me. As long as they come on and they have a story and we're not pitching wares or talking products or you're selling t-shirts. This is not In the Kitchen with David from QVC. This is the TED Show. So we don't want to do that, but we want to tell your story. I get to meet really cool people like Kyle and spend time with him, a good 30 minutes, and then you guys get to meet him. So welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so we always like to start with your story, like your beginning. And if you can tell us sort of where you're from, you know, at some point it's good to finally get to the point where we know your why, maybe what changed your trajectory, why you are doing what you're doing, and then we'll get to the part of talking about what you're actually doing. So, here you go.
I think it was a dark and stormy night, and my mom and dad laid eyes on each other.
That was it?
Yeah.
Isn't that how it usually happens?
Yeah. Biology. A little chemistry. I was born and raised here. Grew up in, born in Tampa, but grew up here in Orlando, and was
Where'd you go to high school?
Dr. Phillips.
Oh, you did? Oh, you're young enough to go there. See, Dr. Phillips was not a high school when I went to Colonial High School.
Oh, wow. It was an elementary school.
Oh, that's right. I think it was.
I went to elementary,
Nice.
first class of elementary, Westridge, and then high school.
Nice. And you stayed here the whole
No,
time?
most of my formative 20s I did, and then I moved up north to New York for a long time. I moved back 3 years ago.
All right, so let's talk about what happened. So you're born, you're here, and then what did you decide with your career? Was there something that you decided early on, this is what I want to do, Mom and Dad, this is what I want to do with my life? What made you go, all right, Orlando, I'm done, I'm going to move to New York?
I think I was probably always a daydreamer and illustration, and obsessed with cartoons. And I remember all my serious art classes, they were always like, cartoons are not an avenue to serious art. And you know what's funny? When I got to be in my 20s and started curating art shows, guess what the contemporary art scene was doing? They were all inspired by Saturday morning cartoons,
How funny.
Japanimation, and product design.
Japanimation, I've not heard that before.
Or manga, or wherever.
Yes, no. My son is
nowadays.
really into manga. It could be manga. But why that? Why New York? You obviously love cartoons, but can you draw, or did you just see an art form in it and wanted to work in it? Why cartoons?
Well, drawing was always my main thing.
See, we joke about it. I spend the $1.50 in R&D that we have on martinis, and then we have no other R&D other than your bio. So tell us a little bit about you drawing.
It started as a kid, you know. I was always illustrating and drawing and stuff, and then I just delved right into it. I was into comic books and imitating people that I was really into, and then I got into Warhol died when I was a kid, and I was like, who's that weird white-haired guy with the black turtleneck, and why does he look so cool? And then it kind of flipped the script on me there, and then next thing you know, I'm getting into other guys like, you know, Francisco Clemente, and what's the other guy I was really into? Robert Longo I really liked, which the museum here in Orlando has two Robert Longos, which
Orlando Museum of Art?
Yeah, right by the welcome desk.
But when you say did you draw it, like did you have characters that you drew?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so you had a whole drawing thing. I need to get you in this
drawing,
shot,
painting, the whole 9 yards, the whole artist thing. You know, I got into that hardcore and started, and then I got the curating here in town years ago, and I actually worked for the OMA.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was a part of the curatorial staff of the First Doses program. For 2 years, I ran that with Elton Bracey and Ben Goodman and some other names. escape me. But we did great stuff then, and that was where I really first branched out to the national scene as like, you know, looking at Juxtaposed, and you see an artist, and you're like, let's get this guy. Let's grab this guy. Oh, wait, who did this album cover? Let's grab that guy.
But how do you know you have that talent? Like, don't you feel like a lot of times, if you've ever watched the auditions for American Idol, you know that a lot of people think they have talent, right? So how do you know that you can take it to the next level? Did you were either of your parents artists?
No.
So you just had this natural talent, a gift that you got, and then how did you know to take it to the next level? Or, and a lot of times you have the gift, and then you don't really take it anywhere because you're afraid it's not going to make money, you don't feel like you're talented enough. Did you have an environment around you that said, all right, Kyle, you're talented enough, go?
I guess it was from a young age. It was the other voices spoken. That's always as a kid. I was always, you know, I could see a drawing right in front of me, and I just do it. And I always, you know, won art contests, or was always the kid that they got to do the school play sets, or.
Oh, you did that.
Yeah, you know, and then I got in. It was high school where it kind of went off the rails because I started really experimenting with stuff, and a lot of stuff. I remember doing a King Lear play, the set design, and they were all jazzed. But it was, I guess, what must have been the embryonic form of what is now Orlando Shakes.
Oh yeah, Orlando Shakes.
But a friend and I were going to do these set designs, and I drew all these great, like, let's make him look like King Lear is a slacker. I just saw that movie. Let's do this. Let's make it kind of updated. You can really relate to it. All my peers liked it. The skaters liked it. Back then, if skaters liked my artwork, I was a success. I loved the skateboard graphics and stuff. Anyway, it got rejected out of hand. Totally, you know, I never could find the stuff I did, and then I ended up doing more traditional sets. And I was like, my friend was completely mortified, and I was like, well, you know, I was glad they rejected it, because like, okay.
So what gets you to New York at that point, though? So
dating a girl.
Okay. Listen, that story, 99% of the time, it's you followed somebody. Somebody's there right at the right moment. So did she go to New York and you go, I got to follow? Or did she say,
no,
you've got the talent, Kyle?
I had been there. It kind of, when I was started curating it, there were artists that I was dealing with in New York and bringing their work down here to feature in these First Thursday shows. And then I met her years ago. She ended up living there. It all happened at the same time. And I, you know, lived through in New York vicariously through books I read or records. You know, the Big Velvet Underground fan, you know, Andy Warhol, or, you know, I'm a huge jazz head. And that's a lot of great jazz musicians live there, clubs, recordings, you know, festivals. And so I started going there to visit or go there for studio visits, and then I eventually moved there. And I stayed there for 15 years.
I know, but I'm always fascinated by the story. You just pick up and go there. Did you have a college application? Did you have a job? Were you a starving artist? And then how do you break in once you're there? Because it's not like New York is easy.
Yeah, it's easier than Florida is. No, I planned it for. I mean, I'm a big planner. I don't do anything kind of.
That's right, because we were talking about this earlier. We had a discussion about financing and funding, and a lot of times when you're right brain, which most artists are, if I'm correct, left brain doesn't come along with that. There's no understanding of fundraising or finances. You know, you need it, but you can't necessarily do it. But you're gifted with both.
Yeah, I knew a lot of people who moved up and moved right back. No, when I left the museum, I did an exhibit at the Avalon Island, which is now the Rogers Keeney Building. And it was a show that's actually still has reaped continual rewards. And I did well with it as far as selling work, as far as it was considered critically. And so I went up to the nice little nest egg, so I didn't have to.
That is the place that's on Pine, right?
Pine and Magnolia.
Yeah, so I know that. So people don't know about that. Until I was on the Mayor's Academy in this past spring, summer, I had no idea it existed. It's a beautiful, it's a gorgeous building. And now what is it called? It was the Avalon Island, or Gallery at Avalon.
Gallery at Avalon Island.
And now it's called the Keenes Building.
Rogers Keeney Building.
Rogers Keeney Building, that's right.
Gallery
I should
downstairs.
Google that. I need to be better about posting that stuff, because it's a beautiful location. It's got so much history
Yeah, big
to
time.
it. So you did a show there. Obviously, you got enough positive response that you're like, all right, I've got the talent. Or did you always know you had the talent? You just needed to find the right.
I always believe in myself. You have
See,
to.
I love that, but you know, a lot of people don't.
It's called cojones. Boss.
Cojones.
Boss.
Bosh, bosh.
Boss.
That's it. So how did you know that though? A lot of people don't have that. That's why they never take the leap. Did you grow up in an environment where people were very supportive?
Yeah, my
or-
parents.
Okay.
My parents weren't artistic. My dad was, as far as he's a I guess you'd call it gearhead into classic cars, restored cars, which is an art totally. And my mom was into opera and music was a big part of our lives.
So you've got at least some sort of artistic.
Oh yeah.
So
Very
they weren't
supportive.
afraid to support you in whatever your gift or your
Not at all.
talent was.
They were totally into whatever I wanted to do. And I just believed in it. And like, you know, you see, I've never liked the pursuit of my own art because it's a real drag having to hawk your wares. But if you have
I get it.
the
right?
cojones to be like, hey Ted, you got this room, there's this artist I know, I think it would fit perfectly. You show them the work, and there's something about being the disconnect between, will you please show my work, or it's like, there's this guy I know, his work is incredible.
100%.
Or woman I know, person I know. And then it got really, you know,
It's easier to. It's kind of like I've talked about it. I have a hard time talking to advertisers or sponsors for the show. But if you told me, or you said Ted, Kyle, or you said Ted, I've got this project or I've got this artwork, and can you get me some people who would sponsor it, who would back it, I could do that all day long.
Yeah.
Because I can do it for you.
sometimes that's
Super
their
easy.
Well, I know a lot of artists, musicians, visual artists, who were their own PR.
Yeah,
They would call a gallery or call a studio on behalf of, my client is a piccolo player, and I understand you're doing the hits of the Andes, and you really need to get this guy. And for some reason, when you go third party, I'm giving away some of my secrets. If you do that, for some reason, it's people tend to talk to someone's agent.
Totally. I
know,
agree. That's so. If
before they
anybody
talk
wants
to
to be
the
my
artist
agent,
You know,
Kyle, you have an agent.
I don't.
See, there it is. I don't know. All right, so let's talk about collaboration in the city. So you went to New York, 15 years. Not you just went and came back. That means you had some sort of level of success. What did you do while you were up?
I paid a lot of taxes. One of the reasons why Florida, no state income tax.
Woo, there's
Keep it
something
that
good
way.
about that.
It's great, especially when you get older. I really kind of hustled and didn't do curating anymore. And then I started taking pictures with I've had a couple of collaborators. Todd Babel, we started shooting basically any jazz musician or composer was still alive.
So your project was to shoot legends or
Sure.
anybody who played in
Yeah.
the New York scene.
We called it Out of Print, and that project has followed me to this day, which I'm basically still doing as far as my jazz program that I do. And
I love it.
But we did album cover work. I ended up working for musicians for a long time. I ended up working for a couple of filmmakers. Robert Downey Sr., real left.
A lot of
field.
people don't know anything about him. You should Google Robert Downey
Do you know his
Sr..
work?
Absolutely.
Putney Swope, Greaser's Palace.
He's got a
yeah.
phenomenal background,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you go, oh, I get Robert Downey Jr. in his early
Yeah.
years.
When
you
you
totally
meet-
understand
When
it.
you see the movies and meet the guy,
Yeah.
you can, I was at his apartment once, and we were talking, and across the way there was a billboard with a huge, like, skyscraper-sized poster of Junior in Tropic Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at Senior, and out the window, I could see his son, and I was like, wow, what an interesting
It was
movie.
crazy.
But that guy was incredibly,
Super talented.
that very, very encouraging and very
Good.
mentoring in a lot of ways.
Good.
And in fact, it was 3 years ago today. I had got a photograph. I just got on my Facebook page. He and I went out for dinner.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, so why back here? So after you're in New York, which is the hub, the city,
Oh.
you get all of this exposure. It's a metropolitan city. Nothing against Orlando, you know how much I love you. But you and your specific art genre, what you're doing, why come back to Orlando?
Oh, well, because I got tired of getting laid off and I was working in hotels and I didn't really care for it, and I got back into doing journalism and broadcasting, and then I had started reconnecting with my roots here. My mom, family are from here, and my brother and I moved our mom back, and that was the main thing. But I dead set I'm not going to come here to dry up and die. There's good things going on here. Like,
Here in Orlando.
Yeah, Snap, Pat Green and I reconnected. My friend Enrique and I got a lot of ideas off the ground. I met with a lot of the art scene here, and since then I've, really.
But why come back? Because of family?
Yeah.
Because, okay, so
Family.
you had to make that decision. And then how do you come back and create something where there's, I mean, Orlando has a great collab. The title of the show has to do with collaborating, being creative in a city, long-term, at large. You wanna be in a city, and we're very blessed to be in Orlando and the surrounding Central Florida area, where the arts community is pretty supportive of each other. But that doesn't mean that everybody knows what's going on. So what did you want to do when you came back? What were you trying to make an impact with?
Getting involved, and also I think bringing a sense of confidence and a sense of anything's possible. You meet a lot of folks that are like, well, how can I do it? Well, we can find a way to make it happen.
Right. We got a lot of those.
It's like laughing.
How are you old enough to know? You must have watched that in reruns.
Yeah, I love a big fan of comedy. Like a sense of, like when Pat Green was the guy that really got me my first gig here, and it was really great, and it was with the More Q Than A series, and he partnered with Josh Martin, who does Uncomfortable Brunch, and I meet him, and here's a guy who's a one-man film festival. This guy could be running the Angelica or Alamo Drafthouse. This guy has great taste. And I've had ideas about, a film series and just putting this into place. And there's enough stuff happening now to where you can actually, where years ago, you would really be struggling to get some of these ideas off the ground. Like say the In-Between series that Pat Green does, or Uncomfortable Brunch that Josh does. Now the wheels are in motion. And so we just started showing these kind of offbeat films, or films that would attract an audience, and we were both tapped into I would say all three of us are tapped into the true temperament of the creative community, and I would say weird sells here in Orlando. If you could have Dave Brubeck.
Weird totally sells.
Yeah, you could have Dave Brubeck, and he would maybe play a half room, or you could have Peter Brosman, who does play here quite a bit. Very avant-garde. I mean, really left field. And you can't get it in the place, so the line around the block to get in. That's always been that way. I remember when I was a kid, Peter Murphy sold, but like Crash Worship, The Dicks, and the Flaming Lips played a show at a drive-in. We're talking real alternative music. Like real, modern primitives, people with tattoos on their faces. This is back in the late 80s, early 90s. You'd swear it was Woodstock. I'm like, where? I never even heard of Crash Worship. And they're playing on garbage cans and stuff. And there's the Flaming Lips with the motorcycle on stage. This is before they were well known. And a band called The Dicks. And it was packed. So anyway, just kind of always known that Orlando's had offbeat taste.
All right, so as I'm listening to you, which is what I want when I share the show, especially. So there is a whole group of people who are kind of close-knit, meaning very collaborative spirit in the city. And I would say 99% of the people who normally come on the show that don't know you would not know some of the people that you're referencing, or would not know anything about the, the dinner, the the Uncomfortable Brunch. They won't know who Josh is. And so I think every time I have somebody, a creative like you on, when I listen to you, I get more impassioned and I want to do more. But they out there, one of the reasons I do this on the show and I bring creatives on like you, is because people are like, what the freak is he talking about right now? Because people don't know what that means. They also don't know the one before that you said, before Josh. No earthly idea. So But there is a community that is collaborating, bringing this stuff, this important stuff to Orlando and continue, not just bringing it, but maintaining it, which is super important. And then being collaborative and supportive of each other in it. And so that's the part that I find fascinating about our community. There's this little teeny circle of people that kind of know, kind of touch each other on a daily basis in a good way. And then there is a whole group outside that kind of wants to know, but then they don't understand all of what's going on, and so they get shy. They're intimidated by somebody like you talking about that. And he's not intimidating, and that's the part that I want to get across to you, is that when you reach out to him, which I want to encourage you at the end of the show to do, I want you to ask him the questions that you don't want to ask online right now. It's a very quiet show right now, and I think the reason why is because people don't know all of the things, all the beautiful, wonderful things that are going on in the city that you're part of.
We'll ask questions. Okay, so Uncomfortable Brunch is Josh David Martin's baby. He was a programmer at the Enzian. In fact, I think he's going back to the Enzian. Florida Film Festival, great thing. You know, really one of the things that puts his culture on the map here in Florida, which I call the other side of Sand Lake. There's Disney, and then there's the real Florida. Enzian's definitely part of the real one.
Enzian is awesome.
Yeah, and so having him involved, and so in Will's Pub, it's once a month, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday, he shows a film that's rather jarring, like Secretary he just showed yesterday, the Maggie Gyllenhaal flick. He showed Blue Velvet. And you get the ticket entry, you get free brunch, all you can eat brunch. So it's nice, it's interesting, and you meet some really interesting people there. And the fact that people love cinema here.
They do.
And so he brought a little of that flavor to the more Q&A, which is at the Rogers Building. Upstairs is a movie theater. And so I definitely would say, as far as movies go, we're in the running. Enzi is definitely #1 for independent film, alternative film. We're in there. A Comfortable Brunch, I would say what Adam Kelly is showing in his living room, Student Cinematique. In fact, they're showing a really good movie tomorrow night. The name is Cedo, an African film. But there is a lot of places you can see movies. You just got to go out there and search for it.
Right.
You know,
is there a conduit for that? Is there a place, like a centralized place where people can go, movies in Orlando, or more eclectic films in Orlando, or film community in Orlando?
Well, I would say if you look up Trevor Frazier in the Orlando Sentinel, like he covers a good swath.
Totally true.
The Weekly is probably the best source of, as commercial as that paper is, they do cover consistently what's underneath the surface.
I 100% agree.
If you look in their movie columns, you can look at all online.
Their food column, everything that they do,
food
even though they've got all their commercial stuff, well, you have to pay the bills. That makes sense, but they're really supportive of the arts community, I think.
They're Johnny on the spot on stuff, and they have a great editorial staff, and the staff that gets it.
I agree.
They really get it. In fact, I would say that it'd be nice if our news outlets, like say 2, 6, and 9, nothing against them, but the Orlando Weekly is really hitting stuff.
It's really the largest voice that we have, I feel like, for the true arts that go on in our area. People where it actually touches the mainstream, for lack of a better word, in a positive way, and kind of exposes them. Yes, very much.
That crossroads, yeah, and it really does. And you can look up there for films, and you can find all kinds of stuff. I mean, they do advertise at living room. Hey, tonight at this guy's house, we're showing Full Metal Jacket.
You can't make that up. It's there.
You know, and
which
they'll
love.
and they'll nominate that guy for film series best of.
I love that.
I think that's really progressive and way to do it. But I think the main thing is there's. I don't know, I try to be approachable, and I try to be, when I do events.
You're 100% approachable. That's why I want them to know that. I want them to see, first of all, that this is it, this is real, this is the Kyle. And then, so if you have questions, you have interest in anything that's going on in the arts, the collaboration and creativity and how we can all work together was part of the title of the show. And I think that it's so important to, I loved listening to you speak as if everyone knew, because you have a passion for it. And I want everyone to know that you could ask him a question even if you don't know what he's saying. You should know about that theater. He said Orlando needs a catch-all conduit portal for live entertainment in general. It's a difficult thing. So you're right about Orlando Weekly. Sometimes they're my go-to on a lot of things. I look to them for food and for entertainment and for anything creative. And so I think it's so important to have someone on like you that's a creative that really pushes the envelope outside of the tiny community that we have, and allows them in to see, hey, look, he's just as normal and crazy as all of us are.
Well, I would say that guy Jeffrey Wiley who wrote that remark, I would say, these big conduit. Well, I would say on your Facebook page, call the Weekly, meet one of the editors, say, hey, look, I got this idea of doing a sub-column, if it's online.
Because like Josh,
do your own column.
So Josh Vickery kind of has there's so many people I've had on the show that kind of they're trying to bring it together so that they can, like, if somebody wants to look something up, we all have the attention span of a gnat. I'll say it, he won't, but we don't really like to Google too much, and if it takes too much effort, we're not going to do it. And so that's why I love to have somebody come on and talk that's so passionate about the arts and so many cool things that are going on in Orlando that people just don't know about.
Well, things like this is great. I mean, you didn't have to do a podcast or a show, but there's a drive to do it.
Agreed.
And like we were saying before, I think it's, we've kind of had the one thing. Burt Reynolds, may he rest in peace, he made a remark to Rick Scott criticizing him for allowing the film and television business to dry up. And I think that left a taste in people's mouths, thinking, we're going to have a career or an industry of media here. And it hasn't. And I think people like what you're doing, what PFT Media are doing, stuff like what Boris is doing, is kind of taking the reins by, in doing it ourselves. And that's probably more empowering than waiting for, standing in line waiting for the powers to be to grant you that.
I agree.
And where was it going with this? Yeah, but it's saying we're in a position here where we can do DIY.
I agree.
Like Jeff Wiley was saying, and make your own conduit. But come out and visit stuff. See it. And I would certainly say that not everything is, there's going to be levels of what's really good. And there's stuff that's like, wow, this is great. This guy's work is great.
So before we head out, one of the things, and we'll share all of Kyle's contact information. I actually had somebody recently say to me, well, I would love to go see a film at the Enzian, but I'm afraid that I'll be judged and that I won't be artsy enough, or I won't be classy enough to go. And I think that's something that the community as a whole, not just the Enzian, but all of us need to reach out a little bit further outside of our circle of people who support each other and collaborate, and realize there's a whole other group of people that really want to engage and embrace it, but they're a little scared. It's not because of anything you've done, they just don't have the wherewithal. And so I think that we can do a fantastic job of engaging them, and that's sort of why I love to bring amazing people on the show like Kyle, because you get to hear things, all those words he said. We're going to make sure that by the way, he's going to share all of that. He's going to write it out, and I'm going to share it when I post the show, because I think people are like, what did he say? That's really cool. What do you mean there's something on Pine Street? What do you mean there's a movie theater upstairs? People don't understand that in our city yet, but we're working on it. All right, so any parting words of wisdom for them before we head out today? And we'll have to have you back if you don't mind, because we have so much to talk about, but it goes by fast. So.
Parting words. If you got an idea, just go with it. Go with it. There was a group of guys that did, a group of people that did a thing called A Place. Time West Management Gallery, all DIY. It's probably some of the best work I ever saw in my life, in any city. And they ran an office building, top floor, and put it together there, and they had a good year run of great stuff, and then they moved on. But just keep trying good things, stick with it.
Stick with it.
Mistakes, bumps, bruises, and all. No one judges anyone at any place at the Enzian.
No.
It's like a bad hair day.
But nobody knows. They don't know that. They hear it, and they immediately think, God, I'm not artsy enough to go there. And what I want to encourage you to do is to get outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But you know, we need to do better too on our side. We need to reach out more. And so we're trying to create that because we really do have a collaborative city and collaborative Central Florida area. And anyway, we love you guys. Thank you so much for being on the
Thank you
show.
for having
You were
me.
a
I
joy.
appreciate it.
You got me thinking about a million different things. I can't wait to hear more. And we'll share all of Kyle's contact information again. And all of the different people and events and places that he mentioned. Kyle's going to make sure he puts that in there so that I can share it with you. All right, we love you guys. We'll see you back tomorrow. Mwah.
Ciao.
Ciao. And then